Greetings, Hacksters! Welcome to Hackster Café. We have an amazing guest this week. Cyril Engmann is a hardware maker and breaker. You are both an inventor of new cool things and an adapter. Like you remake some older things as well. We're gonna dig into some cool retro remakes of yours, and then also are a hardware red teamer in your other life. So I'm really curious to dig into various aspects of these. Let's hit it. How are you doing, Cyril? Good morning. Ooh, we are having some connectivity specialists.
Oh, I feel like I keep on breaking in and out.
Alas. We'll make it work, and if it doesn't work, we'll do
Can
a
you hear me?
recording and come back another time. But I can hear you now.
Okay. I feel like it cleared up a little bit. Can you re-ask the question?
Yeah. Awesome. How are you doing?
Oh,
Oh boy.
no.
No, I swear. I promise you, everyone, this was just working. We are being
Why,
betrayed by
internet?
the
Why?
gods of internet. Really putting the Y in Wi-Fi. Well, don't worry. We'll either get this working for you today, folks, or we'll do a follow-up on at another time. Uh, to tell you the truth, last week I was ill, and we were actually going to have a session then. Uh, hello! And so
Working?
Cyril's already been really patient with me on that front, and so glad we get to chat now.
Let's go. Sorry about the internet issues. This has been really weird.
No worries. I know, like just 2 minutes ago it was working fine. That's how it goes, man. Um, but yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about your main interest? There's so many places that we could start, but let's start with your interest in general and your journey to joining us here today.
Cool. So my name is Cyril Engmann. I'm a hardware hacker. I love to say that my favorite things to do are both making and breaking things. Was a pro at that ever since I was a kid. My mom would always say that anything in our home, I would break it. Whether it was our family stove, our cameras, the air conditioning unit, anything that had an IC in it or could be filled with, I would break it. And it was mainly just my curiosity for finding out how things worked and seeing if I could adjust it in any sort of way to make it work for myself.
Awesome. I also did a little bit of that when I was a kid. I never managed to actually put things back together. Like I was maybe 7 or 8, and I would take apart like this old keyboard that my dad had given me or something, and then an adult would be like, "Oh, cool! Are you gonna put that back together?" And I'd be like, "I'm 7." I know some 7-year-olds are precocious like that, but what about you?
My parents more or less forced me to put it back together. We were
Legit.
immigrants that came from Ghana when I was young, so we didn't have the money to necessarily just buy new things for all the things that I broke. So it was quick learnings on my part, learning how to replace the different parts in a like remote control, or how to use tools to how to sneak into my dad's tool chest most specifically and grab tools to fix things late at night after I woke up in the middle of the night wanting to know how the RAM in the computer works so I can play a game.
Whoa. That's so cool. Oh, wow. Okay, so, do you think that that sort of influenced how you ended up getting into hardware red teaming?
Oh, for sure. I feel like the thing that brought me into red teaming, it's the same idea of like making something new, making something creative. My main goal of breaking these things apart was not just like an innate curiosity, but it was also to try and make it work better for me. I was a little
Mm.
kid with little kid hands, and sometimes I'd be like, wait, this camera is working fine, but like I wish that these buttons were a little bit closer to my fingers. So when I take a picture, it's a little bit easier for me. Not necessarily better, I'll make that clarification, but necessarily like easier for me. So that really thrust me into the world of learning how to break things. And when I realized as an adult that you can get paid to break things, you can get paid professionally to do that, it definitely made me super excited to pursue that field.
That's awesome. There's a YouTube video that you showed me, which is the sort of feature on you by this company writer that you've done work with. And what are you doing here exactly? I'm gonna
Yeah,
turn
so
off the subtitles because it's built in. Cool.
with Writer,
Stop
they
telling us on screen, Cyril, so the real life Cyril can tell us. Please go on. Sorry.
Writer is a super interesting company. They're building a little device that is completely NFC based. There's no USB-C on it. There's no way to interface with the device besides NFC. And their goal is to make using crypto super simple
Mm.
as just using like our debit card or our credit card. Just tap and pay for everything. Updating the device also just like tap to update. Everything's just done seamlessly. And NFC is a fun technology because to me, it's super like hand wave forcey. You walk into like a subway station or on a bus and you just tap your phone or tap a card against something and then
Mm.
the keys to the kingdom are open. So I really wanted to one play with NFC some more. I've done a lot of work with NFC with red teaming in the past, and this seemed like a really good route to play and experiment with that sort of technology some more, as well as work with a cool company that has a lot of really awesome engineers with them. So specifically in the video, I'm taking an iFixit tool. It just allows you to
Oh,
place a PCB there, magnetically mount it to a metal sheet on the bottom. And then I was using some probes to just probe around on different elements of their PCB to get some heuristics to figure out what to hack next.
very cool. And in the same video, I noticed that you have a Flipper Zero on your desk, which is a very popular and awesome tool for people who are getting into hardware, especially hardware pen testing and hacking over here. Do you have
Yeah.
any particular apps? Obviously, there it has some built-in NFC tools. Are there any specific apps that you like to use, though?
Oh, for the Flipper Zero, good question.
Mm.
I would definitely steer people towards the Unleashed firmware.
Mm.
I'm someone, if you can't tell, who likes to not have restrictions when it comes to the different things that I'm playing with or different things I'm doing. And with the Unleashed firmware branch, I know there's other branches like this of the main Flipper Zero repository, but with the Unleashed firmware branch, they take down all the guardrails. They really let you just play around in that space so you can do a lot that you can't do with like the regular version of the Flipper Zero OS when it comes to NFC or RFID. So not
Whoa.
necessarily any specific apps, but just the whole OS there, I would push people towards the Unleashed firmware.
Is that
Yeah, that
the aesthetics on everything surrounding Flipper are amazing. Like, I love this thing for all it can do, but also just like this 8-bit game design situation. Amazing.
right? It's so much fun. Good culture.
You can find it on GitHub too. My little dolphin Flipper Zero guy is currently mad at me. It's I haven't been
Ooh.
feeding it enough stuff to look at, so it says it's angry. I imagine yours is always pretty happy, huh?
No, mine is at
Oh
the
no.
same phase. Let me grab it real
Oh
quick. It's equally angry right now.
no! It's so mad at me.
I use it all the time. It just stays bumped.
No. I need to feed mine more like little NFC cards and
Oh.
stuff to. Oh no, the little guy. I really want to learn to program with the Flipper like myself. I think it'd be really rad. But anyway, but yeah, so you use these iFixit magnetic pad or base mat. There we go, and the little vice clamps. Any other tools that you use in your hardware red teaming activities?
Ooh, I would definitely recommend the Proxmark when it comes to anything NFC. The
Mm.
Proxmark, you can think of it for the listeners who don't know, it's a tool specifically for NFC and RFID. So while the Flipper Zero is a super awesome multi-tool, it's quick in a pinch. It's the Proxmark is specifically for these sort of protocols, so it allows you to do a lot more than you can't really do or that you can do easily with the Flipper Zero. So that's one of my main tools. I think that RFID and NFC is one of the play spaces that, as I mentioned before, just feels so unique to be able to just send things over the air and it reach something else without a wire in between. Just feels so unique. So I play with that a lot. besides that, I actually have like a wall full of tools over here, so I'm just looking over. I have my J-Link, which I love,
Mm.
X-Acto knives to break into things. Ooh, 3D printer pens. 3D printing in general is
Oh.
magical, just being able to imagine something and make it exist. But 3D
Mhm.
printing pens, so much more is in your control if you want to directly just change something. If you want to like add a battery pack to a device that doesn't have a battery pack, you can just use a 3D printer pen on the outside of it and then attach to the device that already existed. So as far
Smart.
as like manipulating the world that already exists or changing things for your own toolage, huge plus. Love it so much.
Nice.
Yeah.
I swear there was another thing in here that I just more tools. In my brain, it's there, but oh well. You're building your own projects from scratch, as well as red teaming and doing basically penetration testing on these other devices that other people have made, which is such a cool combo. And I'm really struggling to keep myself from opening like 30 more tabs based on what you're talking about right now. But um, you have done a number of different camera projects, for example. So this Pi DSLM that's on Hackster as well as your personal blog, both of which are linked below, by the way, everyone. And everyone, by the way, drop your questions in the chat for Cyril because we got an hour here and there's plenty of stuff to dig into. So, but we have so much to occupy us. Your latest project is Pimslo, and I would love to see some about that. But yeah, let's actually do a quick overview of that and then dig into sort of the origin story. So, what's going on here?
Yeah, Pimslo is one of my most fun projects to date. It has 4 camera lenses powered by Raspberry Pi. And what it's doing is just taking a picture with each one of those camera lenses and creating a stereographic GIF. So it's kind of like how our eyes work. If you close one eye, the other eye is seeing a slightly different image. So by having 4 camera lenses in a row, you get a slightly different image each time. That way, when they're all combined, you can create some really cool imagery.
And what are these sliders on the top here?
Yeah,
We
so
actually shot
I
an interview about this at SuperCon, which I have not edited and published yet. But I would love to let's just
yeah,
get it in here real quick.
let's dig deep into it. I actually have like 2 of the cameras in front of me right now,
Oh,
but
cool.
I would love to do like a little quick demo as I
Mm.
describe what it is and how it works. So I'm gonna on the fly just take a picture of my flipper's 0 actually. That's a perfect thing. Camera, I'm gonna take a picture of this guy right here. Camera's on. On the back, you can see we have 4 camera lenses right now pointing at like my thumb. Or let's see if I can pull out my space. Yay, yay, fun. And each of those camera lenses are going to be taking a picture of my angry Flipper 0.
You've mentioned before that like having some depth to the photo, like something sticking out of it, can help with the 3D effect and like the striking nature of the result. But also, like it still looks cool, even if it's like a close-up thing. Or actually,
Yeah,
close-ups I bet are really interesting.
yeah. With close-ups, you actually have less depth, but more variation with the image.
Hmm.
So kind of like how our eyes work exactly when like a hand is right in front of your face. This is great content. Just hiding my face as I explain things. If you close one eye and open the other eye, it's kind of the same image because it's really close, but you can get some minute details around your hand.
Real
So
cool.
I just have a picture of my Flipper 0. It's not the greatest, but I'll go ahead and show the camera. And then I'm going to place it to the side as it automatically uploads to Google Drive and kind of talk about another camera, which is the same camera, but just don't want to mess with one camera as another camera uploads. My overall idea with this project is I really like seeing the world in different ways. I think that's
Mm.
the hardware hacker aesthetic in me. Um, I really want to be more imaginative with the way people see and experience different things in the world. So by having something that invites more motion or more depth into the image it takes versus just like a regular point and shoot camera was one of the big inspos behind this.
Mm.
And there's also already cameras that exist that are like this, like the Nimslo. It's an analog camera. So to explore that
Yeah.
space, I actually purchased one of those cameras and played around with it. But analog photography, just to be very honest with myself and the viewership, I don't have the patience for it. The fact that you have to take the photo and then submit it and then wait like a week or a few days to get it back really brought the joy out of me. And I wanted something that was more immediately gratifying. You could see the photo instantly, it feels alive. You can share that photo within seconds or minutes of taking the photo. So I built this. On the front, we have the 4 camera lenses, super
Let me pull
simple.
you back up here. Here we go. I think
On the
the camera is being a, or the video camera is being a jerk here. There we go. Nice.
do I keep on disappearing a little bit?
Please go. Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. It's all good.
So the top, we have these 2 toggles. One of them actually just controls light, the amount of light you bring into the image. And the other one controls analog gain. So I'm actively injecting some like noise into the image to make it feel more analog-y, make it feel more alive and reminiscent of the analog photography that this is based off of. And then we, of course, have our crank. I really wish more things in life were crank based. It's
Yeah.
fun. It instantly like shows you how to take a photo. There's a little bit of resistance as you crank too, so you feel like you're doing something as you're taking the photo too. And on the back end, it's actually auto focusing during that time that you're cranking. So cranking actually has a huge importance to the overall functionality of the device. And that's basically it. The overall like UI, super simple, written in Python. I didn't want to overcomplicate things. I kind of just wanted to invite some play into what this camera is and what this camera could do. And that was great for this camera. And to show off the image that we just took, I'm going to share my screen. Cool. Present. Share screen.
Just waiting for it to pop up here.
Hey, it's going to work.
StreamYard has recently changed their interface, so it's a little weirder. At least in my experience. You have to like share it first. There we go. Nice.
I think it's going to be right here.
Taking a second here. In the meantime, while that loads up, I'll just show real quick the original. Oh,
can you see my screen?
It's coming up. It's coming up. It's taking a second. I'm gonna show real quick while we wait for that to come up. The original Nimslo that the Pimslo is based on, Cyril's talked about, would create a lenticular image. You'd have to get it printed at a place that could do lenticular images, like this style of thing, where it's got like a sort of like a straight Fresnel lens type thing in the front of it, and it would like actually, I'm not sure that's totally accurate. Anyway, a bunch of ridges that are individual lenses, and then you'd see different parts of the image. So I'm kind of curious whether you could get Pimslo to produce the same type of thing. But here we go. Yours is turning it into GIFs, yeah?
Yeah, that's
Or GIFs.
yeah.
You know,
so right now I'm outputting it in both the ever long battle to pronunciate it. No, right now I'm outputting it in both GIFs and MP4s, just because some people prefer MP4s as far as like sharing it on social media versus a GIF can be a little bit difficult to do there. But it's been a super fun project to bring to different conferences, different conventions. I brought it to SuperCon, as you saw, also brought it to Maker Faire this year. I bring it to friends' parties and get fun images of them hanging around, doing some cool things, barbecuing, what have you. But I think the thing that's the most compelling to people is it's just very different. It's very different from how people have been taking photos and have been sharing photos. Allows people to experience things kind of in emotion, kind of like a boomerang from Instagram, but different just because solely about the subject that you're taking, and you can kind of see more of a perspective around that subject, which I love, absolutely love.
Sweet. When you there was one thing that you said over email and also at the start of this that I really like. You described that you are hacking on projects that help me experience the world differently, which you kind of just brought up again, and hacking behaviors and hardware to create unique experiences. This also feeds into your prior project with the Raspberry Pi DSLM, so a mirrorless DSL I've just learned. Let's pull this back in. Here we go. And it really brings out for me what you were saying before about starting out by hacking hardware to make it easier for you to use. Because the UI on this thing, you've got multiple different grips. Is this the same grip, you just rotate it?
Yeah, it's the same grip. You can just rotate it to different
That's
sides and
so
just
cool. And the customizability here, you can put it on a bottom mount, you can do all that different stuff. Uh, could you tell us a little bit about this? Because it's an older camera project. You've clearly been doing camera stuff for a long time. So tell us about this one.
yeah. If you can't tell, I think I like cameras a lot. I think they're definitely
Yeah.
a big inspo. It's along that same ethos that I mentioned in the email. I think that a lot of life can kind of feel stagnant at times. It can kind of feel very linear. So I'm really trying to experience life differently and also invite others to
Mm.
experience life differently. And I feel like that using my own skill sets means creating unique hardware that other people can't make and kind of sharing that with the world. So the Pi DSLM, the HQ camera just came out. I was super excited about it because I always wanted my own DSLR or DSLM, but I was just taking shots with my phone. So it was a good excuse to try something new, take some photography with that, but also try a different way to industrial design this device and play around with that. So the enclosure, the simplest thing I could do was make it a box. So I made it a box and I decided to
Nice.
make it more playful with how you actually hold or grip the camera, how you reach that shutter button, whether it's in that like upward position, which is actually really comfortable to hold, or in more like a grip fist mounted position where you can do more photography from like your stomach area, your chest area, just by shooting like
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Just fun new ways to take shots.
Tell us a little bit about the technology here. You are using the Raspberry Pi HQ camera.
Yeah, so a lot of my projects are actually Raspberry Pi based. One of my big ethoses, again, is to create things that can really build upon skills that I can apply to different projects. Raspberry
Mm.
Pis are super heavy, and at a time they were also incredibly expensive. But I feel like I've
Oh,
been
yeah.
building a lot
2020.
of skill sets. Yeah, 2020 through 2023, actually, a long
Yeah.
time there. All of us makers were struggling. But I feel like I've been building this skill set, getting better at learning the ecosystem, which definitely extends to the overall like Linux kernel, Linux architecture, which also helps with the red teaming stuff. But
Yeah.
I wanted to build something that utilized that. The HU camera, super cool camera that came out. I think that was Raspberry Pi's first step into making something of that nature. So it was mainly an excuse just to use that. It's just the HU camera, the Raspberry Pi, a 3D printed enclosure, and some buttons for various button taking abilities. The other cool thing that I will mention is Onshape. I use Onshape for the design, and that was my first like foyer into Onshape, and it's changed me. I don't know if you use Onshape or
I
play with
love
Onshape.
Onshape. That is what I mainly use for 3D modeling.
It's so good, and the fact that it's
It's so good.
can be free and still have so many cool features for the community, chef's kiss.
Yeah, and you link to those in the custom parts and enclosures area of your project on Thingiverse. Love it. Oh, denied. Uh,
No,
you can go get the files
definitely need to
later.
update some more.
Cool stuff. And then you've got some other Raspberry Pi projects on here, like this super cool Skywire node. I think a lot of people had questions back in the day about whether or not you could mine crypto on Raspberry Pi, and you have done it
I decided to do it.
with
So
rainbow cables. Love it.
rainbow cables. One of my most beautiful projects. People saw this GIF and they're
It's
like, "Wait,
gorgeous.
what is this?" I
Hmm.
love it. I think that's again the ethos of just trying to make something different. You can make servers; they can look ugly and look like they're in
Mm.
a black cube, but I want to make something pop out, something different, something fun. Sky Miner and Skycoin was an idea back in I think that late 2010s, early 2020s. I don't think it's a thing anymore, but their overall ethos was why not create an ecosystem where people are leveraging crypto, but on their own hardware. It doesn't have to be something GPU intensive. They can mine some crypto and the community can share that, build things off of that. I was not super interested in the crypto part at that time. It was more of just the idea that you're giving power to individuals without high performance machines to mine crypto and do some cool stuff with that. And I jumped on board. I built this cool device that looks dope, that's now actually being fully it's fully replaced by Pi 5s at this point. Not mine crypto actually, but just running on my home local network, all connected to Tailscale, doing logs for all the other various devices that I have.
Oh, cool.
Um, Again, going back to the idea of, hey, all the things that I built, I want to make sure that they feel like tools that are personable to me, that
Yes.
have a direct impact on like my life. So now this server, this cluster, actually like just intakes logs from all my various cameras. And if there's any issues, those logs can see those issues, and I can debug that in a way that makes sense to me. And that's been a godsend, because anyone that's worked with Raspberry Pis will definitely tell you that issues happen, things break all the time. As you update, sudo apt update can be a blessing and a curse. But as you update, it's a pain and a half to go ahead and jump into each of those devices and debug them. But having a way to automatically leverage the infrastructure that you built to look into things and figure out where things are going wrong really makes the process smooth, makes it feel more personable, because now it's not just a device that you have to maintain or an architecture you have to maintain. It's something that kind of lives and grows along with you because there's a system around it that keeps it alive.
Absolutely. Oh man, this vibes so much. And part of the reason that I needed to reach out, so we met at SuperCon recently in person for the first time, and just before that, I had come across your TikTok. I think I'd seen it before, but I saw this like count your blessings device, and that like sparked this whole thing in my brain because I love this concept called mind altering gadgets. That's what I call them anyway. Is like things like you're talking about that like help you live your life, like the idea of your projects as tools and things that help you sort of exist in the world, and you're changing them and they letting them grow
Yeah.
with you, as you say. That's so resonant for me. I'd love to look at that count your blessings one actually real quick. We've got plenty of time and so much cool stuff to dig into, but feel free to take the reins at any point. But this one really spoke to
Oh
me,
no.
and that was the first time I think I directly reached out to you and was like, oh my gosh, that girl.
And it was wild seeing you like 2 days later at SuperCon. I'm like, wait, what? Alex, I want to talk to you. No, this is a project that was directly inspired by depression, just feeling a little
Hey.
bit down. I think it was just the seasons changing. Winter in New York is
Mm.
not the most fun in the world. So building something that allowed me to view my life differently and be very grateful for the different things
Aw.
in my life was my way of using my skill set again to make myself view my life differently and feel out a different perspective. So the idea is super simple, design super simple. Didn't want to do like a big project to avoid the fact that I was feeling things, but rather do something to quickly allow me to enable myself to feel differently. You're just pressing a button, you're just counting. As you have good memories or good occasions, you can count for anything. You just use it to count for the good occurrences in my life as I was walking around, living my life, both in New York as well as like on a vacation. And
Mm.
it is funny how quickly it changed my perspective on life in general. When you have a little action that you can do that gives your brain dopamine, yes, but
Mm.
also allows you to lock in and focus on being present, on being grateful. I feel like that was so big to my subconscious. And it really made me view just my relationship with my phone differently too. Because
Hmm.
originally my idea was just do some gratitude note taking in my phone, just to, again, be grateful for the different things that are happening in my life. But I feel like the phone as a hardware device has gone to a point that it feels so sterile, it feels so soulless. It's full of apps that are gunning for your attention, the mindless, endless scrolling. I wanted something that felt more real, something that felt like it was giving back to me. And even though I definitely could have done this with a million different web apps or a million different phone apps, this
Mm.
allowed me to invite this feeling of being present and feeling my life with something specifically that was only made to keep me happy and to show me the happy, or remind me the happy memories that I was having in my life, has been great. I actually still keep it around with me. It's still it's still something that I use from day to day,
What
and
happens
I'm
when you're
really
in a
happy.
99?
it just rolls back to zero, which is
Nice.
sad, but also it's a fresh start of being grateful again.
Yeah. And you get that little hit of
Yeah.
seeing the number go up. I remember reading a story on the internet where this person was sitting in class and they had a classmate who was a girl and they would hear her pen clicking, and apparently like every time she had a happy thought, she would like click her pen, and she was doing like you described it as a Pavlovian sort of self entrainment thing, and that's absolutely it's incredible that both of you mentioned how effective this is, and that's like, oh man, I gotta try this too. This is a big part of why I build companion bots in the first place, is like helping shape my mindset, and like, and the compelling nature of hardware as something you can touch, something that has personality, and like something that you built yourself and is
Yeah.
tailor-made for you. For me, that's so compelling as well, and I totally vibe with what you're saying around that. Even these displays that you're talking about, that you have on your website, these having a little dedicated display where you're not going to get distracted and end up in some kind of Reddit hole or whatever, and having like this custom display that really helps the way you engage with the information, shaping your relationship to that information, and feedback loops and with our own brains and stuff. Ah, so much interesting stuff. Of course,
Yeah.
interfaces are part of that as well. Would you like to
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about your keyboards?
Yeah, so I feel like there's definitely a theme here, right? Building
Yeah.
devices that aren't necessarily generic, but are custom made for you, feel like they are personable, deeply personal, actually, for you, and
Hmm.
create unique experiences for yourself. A lot of hardware out there, you can buy it, you can own it. The fact that 60% of people in the United States, at least, own an iPhone, which is not like a bash at iPhones, but you end up with a lot of hardware that kind of like looks and feels the same. And again, I feel like that takes some of the soul out of owning something that's really personalized for you. It has the buttons in the place that you like to reach. That's the full goal of even this keyboard. I built something that oh man, keyboards in general, I know are a rabbit hole. I didn't
Hmm.
even know about personalized keyboards until a good friend of mine during the pandemic was like, "Hey, we're all baking bread," and then I was like, "I don't want to bake bread." And another friend was like, "Oh, we're all building custom keyboards." I was like, "Wait, what?" Little did I know, like 2 months later, I would have sunk hundreds of dollars into different custom keyboard builds. These being put over to me, hours over a soldering iron building them. It's so much fun to be able to fully customize something like that. Exactly
Yeah,
the
and you
buttons.
mentioned, yeah, improving your SMD soldering skills while building these, like you just
Oh
said,
yeah,
like
for
spending
sure.
hours on them.
Hours on end, but so much fun breathing in solder fumes, but building something in the end that just felt like it was for me, coding it in the end too, having all my shortcuts to go different places, learning how to type for the right for the first time because I thought I knew how to type,
Ooh.
and then you jump into a keyboard and that has different layer maps. You're like, wait, what?
Oh
How
yeah.
do I use this bot and spent hundreds of dollars on assembling? How do I make it work? But now it feels like an
You
extension to myself. And when I'm jamming away and hacking with the split keyboard, it's a unique experience.
Awesome. I noticed there's like these 3D. Did you create this 3D printed enclosure here with the handles?
Oh, I wish. No, that's actually something I
It's
found
so
on
cool.
Thingiverse. Printed it,
Ah,
and it's so cool. It's like have around. It kind of feels like a saber, a sword, when it has the handle.
yeah. I mean,
Isn't that
Thingiverse is a
fun?
treasure trove. I love that. As a creator myself, I'm always tempted to do everything from scratch, but there's so much cool stuff. And part of the reason that I share is so that other people can use my stuff. And of course, that means that I can allow myself to use other people's tools that they've made as well. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
allowed. I don't
more
have to do
open
everything from
source.
scratch. I only have
More
so much
open
time.
source. Yes,
Love
I
these
love it.
keycaps, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I think they were just something random on Amazon that also just felt like it was for me, so I just grabbed them.
They're so cute, and they match so well with the color combo here.
Yeah,
I've been looking a lot into
personalizing.
like yeah, into like stenography and stuff. And have you
Ooh,
ever messed around with corded keyboards or steno keyboards?
I have not messed around with steno
That's a
keyboard. I don't even
whole other
know what.
rabbit hole. We better
What
not get onto
is it?
that. That's dangerous. uh, so we've
Mm,
got about 25 minutes
yeah,
left. I know you have more
keyboard.
hardware
There's
stuff.
so
Oh,
much
let's.
customization. It's an endless
Yeah.
loop.
Yeah. Have you tried 3D printing any keycaps?
I have to failure actually way back in like
Perfect.
2018 slash 2020, I think, like around that time period. I owned like a few bad 3D printers and I tried printing out some keycaps because that's the logical next step, right? Like, why not just have the keycaps that represent you and also represent your cool little key combos just written out there instead of like writing on the keycap or like printing and placing something on the keycap. Again, super personalized, but the printers I had just did not work. But you just reminded me that I have access to good printers now, and
Ooh.
that means I can go down another rabbit hole.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Good problems.
like,
Um, so if you had, speaking of 3D printers, there's a lot of hype right now around bamboo 3D printers. There's a bunch of cool stuff coming out. Obviously, there's really nice resin printers. Formlabs are doing lots of really cool stuff with like flexible and different types of filaments with like basically infinite amounts of dilatability, which is not a word, but whatever. Um, is there like a dream tool, whether it's a 3D printer or something else, that you're just like, if you had infinite resources or like a benefactor, like hint hint anyone watching,
oh,
what would you be excited about to level up your game?
oh,
Or just for
Alex,
fun?
this is such a good question, and the
Evil
fact that you asked
question.
me this during Black Friday week, where I've already been looking at all these tools that I cannot afford, and trying to tell myself I can. Oh, okay. So there's two on the top of the list.
Ooh.
One would be a 60-watt fiber laser or any high wattage fiber laser. Seeing creators online now be able to make their own PCBs just using a fiber laser in the matter of minutes feels, again, like something out of a dream. They can personalize a PCB. I know you can do that with like CNCs, and I've done that with the other mill and that Bantam CNC before.
Yeah,
But
me too.
doing it with a laser just feels like the next level. Super
Yeah.
clean, besides all the very toxic fumes, super clean, and you end up with this beautiful work of art in the end. Yeah, so
Yeah.
definitely like a high wattage fiber laser or Bantam. I got to play around with one of the Bantam CNCs this last summer at NYU's ITP camp, which is like a
Mm,
summer camp for nerds and artists that NYU hosts. And it was dope getting to create my first PCBs using their Bantam and also being able to machine out some metal pieces. And I've been playing around with that more in my makerspace, NYC Resistor here in Brooklyn, and that's been fun. But to own my own, like Bantam CNC, one of their nice desktop CNCs, that'd be dope.
that's really nice. Is this gonna give
Yeah,
me the full version? Yeah, there we go. Whoo!
look
I've
at
played
that.
with one of these from a few years ago, and it does take, compared to a laser cutter or laser etching system, it does take a lot more time and it takes a lot of setup. You gotta like set up these little plates down here and like attach it perfectly, and they got jigs and stuff. But it takes a lot of time, and you gotta like have a little vacuum sucking out the dust
Yeah.
and stuff, which I'm always really bad about setting it up. But and then there's also even on the laser side, it can be kind of really noisy when I don't know, maybe they've made advancements in that. I remember before cutting like metal and carbon fiber on a fiber laser that I did not own, alas, and I no longer have access to, but the like noise was horrible. And so you gotta have like obviously a place to put it that's like not hostile to your neighbors. But
Yeah.
oh my goodness, the stuff that you could cut with it, like, mm, and
Even
the
3D
speed is so nice.
printers back in the day. I used to have two 3D printers in my bedroom, and I don't know why my roommate liked me as much as they did, but they're kept them at all times of the night. It doesn't matter to me. I was like, oh, you just said the most dangerous combination of words. I'm gonna be 3D printing at midnight and getting some cool prints out. But the noise, the ringing still is in my head to this day, and that was like 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I made a mistake recently of actually speaking of Bantam tools, they've got this I'm gonna put that comment away for now because I want to show you the thing I just showed off on the Bantam Tools site. Or the thing that pops up immediately, basically, is this art frame, which is a version, like an upgraded version of the Axie
Ooh.
Draw. And that thing is an amazing tool. This is the art frame. It's a slightly different tool, but here we go. This is the sort of upgraded one. And when you are doing like a straight on pen up and down, hard enough to make sure that it makes a mark every time, like I did a design recently that had like something like several hundred dots and circles in it, and just like I had to literally create a new sort of sound baffling system with a shoji screen and some foam because like it's just like bup for like an hour. I'm like, no. But I do love the sound of stepper motors. Everyone loves those.
Yeah, but not all day, not all night as well.
Some people do it professionally, and they must have like a good sound isolation system because man, um, we've got like 20 minutes left. Let's dive into your new stuff. What's next for you?
Ooh, yeah. So currently hacking on a few projects. One of them, we, meaning me and some collaborators here in New York, were approached by some artists that had a very specific problem. They hated bringing their laptops to shows to go DJ or to go perform. They wanted to still be able to live stream their sets, but not have to lug their laptops with them, have to worry about like a $2,000 MacBook at this performance. So, in order to solve for that, we started hacking around again with Raspberry Pis, if you'll notice a theme, to find a way to have a device that was portable, battery friendly, but still allowed individuals to live stream. So that went really well. We ended up hacking, creating this little device that we called Soul, just with a Raspberry Pi 4 at the time and a like sound hat on top of it, allowing people to live stream some high quality audio. And then we decided to take the next step. A lot of people ended up reaching out to us saying, "Oh wait, it was so cool. We love the fact that this is now a thing that exists in the world." So we started spinning up a PCB, a custom PCB using the Raspberry Pi CM4, again during the pandemic, which was hard to do, but we've been hacking away and we have a little prototype that we are taking to shows, giving to artists. This is a version of it without the enclosure on it. You can see the CM4 on the back there. And
Ooh.
again, kind of simple. You have a little display powered by CM4. You have an aux in. You can just plug in the aux from the top. You can press a button, and then you can live stream an event. It'll go to our central server, which is evenings.fm, or you can rig it up to go to Twitch, go to YouTube, go to anywhere that you need live streamed audio, just to make it, again, easy, personable to do this, fit in your pocket, go to an event, and not really have to worry too much.
This is so cool. I want to show some more of these close-ups that you sent me because there's a lot to appreciate here. The smoothness of this enclosure. How did you make the enclosure? Is that 3D printed, injection molded?
Yeah, so
Standard?
the closure is SLA printed, actually.
Mm.
SLA 3D prints are something that I've started exploring the last year. And once you go SLA, it's really hard to go back to just
Yeah.
FDM prints. I know there's printers like the Bamboo that are so fast now and can be super accurate, but to be able to, I feel like I dreamscape a lot. I dream of how I want my devices to look and feel. And 3D printing opened up that door to me, like, oh, you can now like actualize those dreams. You can design it and then you can have something in your hands. But with FDM print, there's always like some trade-offs. It's always going to be a little rough. You're going to have to do some post-processing to really make it feel like that personal, unique experience that you were dreaming of in your mind. Whereas SLA, just with the layer of detail you can get on that, oh, you can really get a lot closer to those original dreams at the cost of like time and working with a poison that is resin, but it really helps you build things that are super unique and can have some like fun rounded edges without doing any post processing or much post processing.
Absolutely. So like you mentioned, you've also got this online platform called evenings.fm. Tell us about the development process of this. And is this so you started off with breaking hardware and then you've been making hardware, and in my mind this sort of like productization is like the next level. Um, have you made a product before? Is this your first like hardware consumer product?
Ooh, great question. So no, I haven't made a like large scale hardware consumer product before. My original fascination with like going from red teaming to going more towards product is I was red teaming all these different devices for a time with the Department of Defense, and I was going and breaking these $1 million tools built by these like $1 billion companies and just
Mm.
kind of looking at them and being like, wait, these $1 million teams are producing these tools that are riddled with bugs. I can produce things that have a little bit less bugs. I can take my time and work with like also a team of people that I trust and passionate about to like build things that have a positive effect. And I don't need millions of dollars. I don't need any sort of huge runway. I just need some inspired engineering friends or inspired designer friends to work with to build stuff. So even though I have been building projects for, I would say, over a decade now, this is our first step in building something that we are trying to get to tens, then hundreds, and then thousands, and then hopefully millions of people. And there's something that feels great about that. It's something that feels exciting. First, imagining something, making it more physical, making it more real, and not really advertising it to be like a generic thing that everyone uses. Not everyone needs a live stream, but the people who do need a live stream is going to provide a really unique experience for them and feel deeply personable to them. And that's exciting.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me in some ways of the Circle phone by Christina Sear, where it's like rounded electronics having a more organic and personal feel, like you're talking about. Oh, it says "Have a nice evening." I just saw a cool post about different stuff that says like Easter eggs on PCBs. All the interfaces
Yeah.
on
So
here are so gorgeous, and I imagine, like you mentioned, you're collaborating with people. Um, what's it like building uh with a team and for other people's preferences versus building on your own and for yourself?
it's definitely an important next step. I feel like when you're building on your own, you take some things for granted. You don't really view the products that you're creating as being wholesale. Whereas building with a team, you need to take that time to ingest everyone's opinions, figure out the best step, also take apart your own ego, take like a step away and remove that to think of how this is going to affect their end customers and how they want this device to be as well. I feel like my red teaming experience definitely helped with that, just because with red teaming, you have to kind of analyze the human psyche, figure out how people work, how people want something to work, but then kind of flip it on its head like, wait, I want to press these buttons instead of pressing this button, or I want to work with this device, but on its side. Wait, it was never meant to work on its side. So working with red teaming definitely helped me think differently, and applying that to working with a team of, I'll be very frank, like geniuses. I love the different friends that I'm working with. Our industrial designer who worked on most of the curved edges of this device, they're uh, like unique in and of themselves. The individual who's doing a lot of the front end and the back end work for evenings.fm, one of my best friends. I've worked with him over 10 years now. We met in college and became quick friends. Also learning tons from them. Our UX designer, Osabo, so much learned from him and how he both like operates within this community of artists that we are talking to, as well as designs things out to make them feel super personable and super unique. Not make like a Spotify clone, but make something that feels like it can stand on its own and really influence people to want to use it and want to play around in the playground that it makes.
Love that. Yeah. Um, there's so much here. I really like what you're bringing up here in terms of uh, red teaming itself being a way of an activity that requires like psychoanalyzing people and understanding the uh human minds, which reminds me of how, even at DEFCON, I've seen a lot of stuff about social engineering and how like often what's more effective than trying to brute force a system is just like figuring out who you need to talk to and how to talk to them to be able to get what you need, and whether that, it's so fascinating. Um,
So
a little more on red teaming. Like, how did you learn But obviously you started breaking stuff when you were a kid and putting it back together and learning how it worked. Between there and being a professional red teamer working on like defense stuff, what's what's the story?
Yeah, great question. So I graduated from college and I didn't have a job. Let's start there. And I was kind of just applying to different startups, trying to get my foot in there, as well as I was waiting for. I applied to a government job at a research facility, and I was waiting for that security clearance to clear up. But after I got into the research facility, I ended up on a red team there. I was doing both robotics, building some cool robots, working with some RF, as well as doing some SCADA red teaming. And it was,
Mm.
again, as I mentioned, growing up as a kid, they're paying me to break things. They're paying me to figure out how to break things and how to break more things. It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle that you can find your own solution to sometimes. Super exciting. So I started
So
doing
many cool
that,
things you've done.
started breaking things with the Navy, and that transitioned into like getting my name out there, going to DEFCON, breaking things there, and then I got recruited by the Army's Red Team, TSML, Threat Systems Management Office. And they had a really unique job structure where they would send you all over the world and they would have like DoD equipment in front of you and allow you to break it just to prove that you
Wow.
can. So like I can't name specifics because government, but all sorts of DoD equipment, like the DoD owns tanks and other things like that. So
Wow.
we would get paid to figure out how an adversary would think and break those things. And the other part of the job was also figuring out how to build tools, customized tools that could do close access. So CAT or close access red teaming involves going into facility, being the actual person that like social engineers their way in or uses tools to get in, and then exfiltrating data out. So I got to get a chance to build a lot of custom toolage around that, figuring out how the adversary would think to go into a place that they're absolutely not allowed to and then get data out, which is, again, so much social engineering. I built a lot of cool tools, but in the end of the day, if you can walk up to someone, just be kind and just say, hey, can I come in? You don't need any fancy, cool gadgets. You can just walk into a place. But the tools that I built were definitely backups in case that didn't work.
Kind of works the same way with yourself. Like I feel like I'm often trying to trick myself into doing the things that I really want myself to do these things, but I have to like find little ways to like I have to be nice to myself, like you're talking about, and I have to figure out how to get myself to perform the action that I want to do, which I feel like is relatable for a lot of us. It strikes me
Absolutely.
that you mentioned you mentored a robotics team, which I think is just a cool thing to call out there. But also at the top, you mentioned chaos engineering as a skill, and I relate to this so hard. I consider myself chaotic good uh, for various reasons, and like this concept of like chaos and sort of self-regulation and building things and working out how to make your brain work the way you want, and to build tools that help you create your own mindset. This is so resonant for me, and oh,
Mhm.
I can't wait to see more of what you do. But like, I don't know if you have more thoughts on that.
Oh, definitely have a few more thoughts on chaos engineering. Uh, all the tools that I build, I feel are definitely helping me build the next tool. Sometimes I get in the mindset of, oh, I have too many personal projects going on right now. I have too many ideas for things. And I push those thoughts aside. Like, no, I really need to focus. I really need to like hit these deadlines. And I do. But at the same time, opening myself up to play around in that space, that playground of, oh, wait, this is a cool idea. For example, I'm working on a client project right now that has to deal with LBGL and getting some stuff done with that. And I've been banging my head against it a little bit, and I was like, oh wait, let me just like take a break and work on a side project, something for fun. Something I'm not gonna spoil because I'm so excited to release it in like 2 weeks. But it has to do with LBGL UI design, just making some cool stuff with that. And I figured out how to do it last night using LBGL. I'm like, wait, this is almost the same concept that I can directly apply to the client work that I was doing, and it's going to help me save so much time and effort on that different approach. So it feel super chaotic just being able to like switch gears and fully dropping something to work on something else. But I feel like all these different projects, regardless of if they're a counter or a clock or a camera. I'm building skill sets and all these different hats. That's really helping me do one of like my bigger ethoses, which is gonna sound crazy. It's like my blue sky goals, but I really want to be able to get to a place where every piece of technology I own, anything that can have an IC in it in general, is something that I've made, something that is
Yes.
incredibly personable to me, whether it's a laptop, a phone, like smart home device, a light, like a fridge, anything that could have an icy in it just has like my own personal touch on it, which involves learning how to reverse engineer everything. But that being challenge that I'm excited for.
Oh man, that resonates so much. I've been building my own like programmers for like ESP8266s and AT Tiny chips, which I love working with both of those. And just like the concept of like building stuff using tools that I made and being surrounded by this little world wonderland that like of my own creation. I imagine that this also ties into your security feelings because like you have a lot of experience with that. You obviously are gonna know how insecure IoT is, which is getting better, but still there's like lots of things. But if you've built it yourself from the ground up, then you have sort of you know how much to trust it and where this stuff's going.
I thought you were about to say if you built it from the ground up, it's going to be secure. And no,
No,
absolutely
no,
not.
no, no, no. But you know exactly how secure. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you build it from the ground up, you know what you put into it. You know what you baked into it. You know that the big companies can't just turn a switch and all of a sudden your cool Spotify plaything or car thing isn't work anymore. And I feel like that's another side of it, just being able to control what you own and who sees it and who experiences it,
Hmm.
especially in this world of AI that we live in now, where all of our data is being harvested constantly to train these models. I want something that if it is harvesting my data, it's me harvesting my own data to better know myself, better create some unique experiences for myself, rather than being served ads weirdly as I walk into a grocery store because I know that I watched Arcane season 2 last weekend and I need to get my fix on more Arcane.
Absolutely. That resonates so much with my own mindset around that stuff, especially, the data harvesting, the control, but also, yeah, what you're being served. I just started watching Arcane, by the way. I got a couple of like comments around the blue hair and Jinx and stuff, so like, okay,
Oh,
I gotta watch this. And also, I'm looking for more like here's a question. I'm looking for more media to inspire me to build stuff because I want to do it, but sometimes it helps to have an extra little like push by seeing someone doing cool stuff with it. Like Jay talks about Baymax is like a huge inspiration, just like watching Big Hero 6 on loop. I've watched things like oh man, of course I can't think of anything immediately. Like Doc Ock in Spider-Verse. The version of her that's in there I think is really like evil but cool. Actually,
yeah.
maybe she's not totally evil. I forget. It's been a while. Possibly amoral at the very least. But yeah, are there any like fictional characters that you look up to that inspire you, and can I steal them?
No, media is a big inspiration, regardless of if it was like red teaming. With red teaming, I actually watched a lot of spy movies, and
Ooh.
those were a direct translation to a lot of the tools that I built. Because Hollywood has kind of thought through a lot of these different use cases. How do you break into a building? Oh, you get a special watch that can shoot a laser beam on a lot, not anything crazy like that. But yeah, spy movies are definitely an influence with that. With a lot of my projects nowadays, where I'm trying to make things that are deeply personal, I feel like anything around cyberpunk is that. All these people in like cyberpunk dystopia lands, they all have different devices that only really work for them. Everyone looks completely different. They all have completely unique backgrounds. So that's a huge inspiration just to see how, even though you're in a place where nothing really looks the same, a device breaks and you just pick up another device and you kind of jerry rig it together to make a new device. That's the future I want to live in, where everything's like at least a little modular, that you can play around in an ecosystem that everything kind of plays together. So no specific call outs. I think like Cyberpunk Edge Runners is fun but gory. Some good cyberpunk books that I can't remember off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
cyberpunk aesthetic in general is really fun to me.
I'll toss a couple out there that I just thought of. Where did my little photos go? Okay. Sorry. Setting stuff up for a minute from now. But The Expanse, like Naomi is constantly hacking on stuff, and like many of the characters are constantly having to like break stuff in space. You don't necessarily have instant access to, there's not like a fries down the street or whatever. You can't just go there and get what you need. So much, so much
Oh
jury.
yeah, this is
Also in The
really good.
Mandalorian, I forget what her
I
name
feel
is,
like
but there's this like droid repair woman who like has all these little droid pets around. They're not pets, they're helpers, but like her little garage workshop where she like fixes Mando's spaceship, I think is really cool. Anyway,
oh, that's dope.
I gotta get your spy
Ooh,
movie recommendation list.
I'll hit you up with some good ones after this.
Nice. All right, so I realize that I've gotten too enthusiastic. I have two more questions for you. One, especially, we've got to cover your other upcoming project that you're working on right now, and then if we have time, if you're chill with hanging around for a little more, I'll ask you one more big question. But yeah, uh, what is your other cool thing you're working on right now?
Yeah, so the other really cool project that I'm working on right now, it's called Aura. It's a webcam. It's a webcam that's not just a regular webcam, but it has three camera lenses. Uh, because it has three camera lenses, you can do some really cool things, kind of like the Pimslo. Like the three camera lenses allows it to do some stereoscopic depth finding. I have one in front of me right now, two camera lenses on the side, and like a main camera lens. The main point of it is, again, to experience life a little bit differently, add some cool things into a webcam call that wouldn't necessarily be there. Me and my partner on this, Olga, we were inspired by the Apple Vision Pro, being able to be in a place or a land where you can now play around with depth and see things right in front of your eyes that feel more realistic felt super exciting. But I do not have the $2,000 to $3,000 to purchase an Apple Vision Pro, nor do a lot of my friends. So how do we make some experience like that more accessible, make it feel like people can play around with depth and feel like they are in an immersive environment where things feel super personal. For example, like what if I was on this call with you right now and instead of picking up the web camera, I kind of just made it appear in my hand just by like making a gesture, and then I could like move it closer to the call, move it further away from the call, just like play around with depth with objects that don't necessarily exist in front of us. So we've been
Ooh.
playing around with that. It's going really well. I'm super excited about it. Um, we are doing a lot of hardware design on it right now. That version that I just showed you was our V0 that we are kind of working on earlier this year. And we've been improving the hardware design, both the PCB as well as the overall industrial design. And we're getting to a point where we're going to be submitting some PCBs soon to hopefully get the new version up and running. Yeah, that's the older version over there. But while you're showing that, let me go ahead and queue up this demo to show you the new one. Yeah, these are images of I'm so excited for it. These are images of like the new one that we've been working on.
Cool.
So I just stopped my video. I'm just reset
OBS.
the video
Woo.
with my webcam, with my Aura webcam.
I'm curious as well, while you're setting that up, I'm gonna distract you. But there was a Project Era that was like a modular phone system. How do you deal with like name collisions, or do you just not worry about it? Because that project is, I'm pretty sure it's been defunct for multiple years now, so maybe it's not just even an issue anymore, but
Names are hard. Names are so hard, Alex. I have some friends that are amazing at naming projects. They can do it, and every single name they come up with just like makes sense. I am not that person. I am definitely the person that struggles to find something unique and something that still feels like it has an identity towards the project. So I think the thing that I've actually been doing is leveraging those friends, talking to
Yeah.
people with like a list of ideas and like asking people around, like, hey, how does this make you feel? How does this make you feel? And kind of just going from there. I'm not necessarily worried about naming collisions. That's always going to happen. It's so hard to come up with something purely unique in this day and age. But
Hmm.
I'm more so excited about just finding a name that feels more realistic for the device or the thing that I'm making.
It looks so nice. On collaboration as well as with names, you're working with this Olga creator who has an amazing Behance profile, by the way. What's
Right?
the collaboration process like? How do you
Ooh,
each work on different parts of the thing? Do you overlap in what you work on? How do you share things back and forth? How does that work?
can I actually navigate you to her? You're on her Behance, but there's the camera that you see in the top right hand corner. Can you click on that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you'll
Ooh.
see
Oh, this looks
this
familiar.
camera looks very familiar to something that I've shown earlier in the call. And that was our original touch point. I saw this camera that Olga made on the internet. I was like, this is too cool. This looks so cool. Designed it also based off the Nimslo and another camera like it. So I was like, this is the perfect collaboration in the making. Let me reach out. Let's see if they're interested in like making this camera come to life. And we talked for a few weeks and we realized, and we did some research, and building an actual camera takes a lot of money, a lot of time, definitely takes a bigger team than what we have right now. And we are both really excited about this camera and making this camera reality. But for now, we still are very much in the camera space. We want to build something that's unique and fun, that has one less lens. So we're going for this Ara camera.
We have a question from the audience. Why are you so cool and smart and handsome? Explain.
Oh man, I like to thank my mom specifically for that. She did most of the work. My mom and my dad did most of the work.
Lots of great comments here. This person's been chiming in with lots of interesting points. Uh, this Ara camera could be, or Ara camera. Oh, you're drawing in the air.
So this is the R camera at work right now. Again, this is very much the beta of the beta, but you can kind of just like draw in the air, create things out of quote unquote thin air. You can do this with a regular camera, just using a media pipe, but our idea extends the fact that now, since we have 3 camera lenses, we can also add depth. So what if like I made that drawing from before, but I'm now able to grab it, and if I move closer to the camera or further away from the camera, the drawing can move appropriately.
Cool.
So,
We'll have to
yes.
get some video of that when we're having fewer internet thingamajigs going on. Oh, I've got so many tabs open. I gotta close some of these so we can take a look back through uh, and wrap up here. But we gotta get you back on here sometime because there's so much more to talk about. Oh my goodness. Um, one last question I have for you. So, I often like to ask this of people. What is a new or developing technology that you're excited about right now? It could be something that's going to upgrade one of your fields, like whether it be that cameras, red teaming, keyboards, whatever, controllers, brain science, who knows, or something that whether or not you're going to use it actively yourself. What type of things have you got your eye on in terms of new technologies?
That is such a good question, Alex. I feel like my brain's always scattered. I'm always looking at like 7 or 8 different technologies, trying to play around with them in the R&D space. But the technology that I would say I'm most excited for currently is it's going to sound so cliche because everyone's excited for it, but AI tools, but very specifically
Hmm.
local AI. I feel like
Yes.
Jay and yeah, Jay put it really perfectly at SuperCon. Being able to walk into a space and interface with something that doesn't have to reach out over the internet. It feels more or less personable to you because like it has your data and knows your data, but it's again not reaching out over the internet and like sharing that with other people. But it can be something that you can communicate or play around with. I feel like we are still far away from having something portable and easy to use that's that. But every day I'm looking at tons of different articles, seeing how much closer we can get to a portable, a usable local AI system. I mentioned the cluster that I have going on here at home. Attached to it, I have a few GPUs, and I'm taking in all the data that I'm getting from my different devices. And right now, I'm like trying to train some models to do some predictive analysis to figure out when my different devices are going to crash, and if they are going to crash, go ahead and use LLMs to write better code than I can to fix those crashes before they happen, like submit those pull requests, having a full system that's like alive and breathing, that's taking care of itself and growing with itself. But very specifically, being offline while you do that, not letting these systems be controlled by bigger parties that have billions, trillions of dollars that can definitely use your data for evil.
I am 100% in that same bucket. I feel the same way about it. There's so many advantages to running like local AI in terms of security, bandwidth even, not dragging down your network. But even if you're running it on a local network, it could be useful. But all and also obviously the environmental impact if you're not relying on external servers, it's more robust, more resilient, and like you mentioned, Jay brought up this part of it, like knowing you. And that's something that I've been thinking about. I'm working towards building small language model based
Ooh,
stuff.
yes.
Yeah, inspired by Timnit Gebru's paper around stochastic parrots and like how on the environmental impact of these technologies, which is like a huge thing for me. But in terms of it knowing you, it's such a beautiful concept, and I love that I hadn't even thought about that aspect of it, but not just being a tool, but something that I love it.
Yeah.
Um,
Then
so
play around with something that knows you, something that gives you feedback. The human touch is never going to be replaceable fully. I don't want that, but I want something that still can understand you to a level that helps you in your day to day when you don't have your amazing human friends or community around.
I was trying to see. Uh, at some point I built so it's sort of like an advanced form of rubber duck debugging, right? Where like you're bouncing ideas off of an inanimate object as though it were a person. And even just like explaining it to something can really help. But like in this case can actually mirror you. I made this like 3D printed splice of like my own head onto an actual little rubber duck shape once and 3D printed it out, and sometimes I would talk to that. But like having
That's
something can
so
actually like
cool.
it looks so bad, but it's like I still love it. It's like bright blue
Oh,
and
I
stupid
love
looking. Like I
that.
love it. Ah.
Oh, Alex, you were my favorite. That is so much
No,
fun.
our internet overlaps so much. I feel like there's like 8 million rabbit holes we could go down, and it would be never-ending problems in a good way. But so just to like, because we alas have only a limited amount of time today, I want to make sure everyone goes and follows you. We've got nickengman.com. That was you're going by Cyril in professional world now. We're going to go Cyril Engman. Engman, I can talk. There's more we didn't even look at. This pocket watch thing I thought was really cool. Your TikTok, which with more things that I don't even know what's going on here, but it looks awesome. Go follow Cyril on TikTok, Instagram. Also, of course, on Hackster, you've got some cool projects like the Sky Miner and this old but cool article about authentication keys. Really cool. Thingiverse stuff, you're publishing things there so people can learn from you. It's not loading the photos for some reason. You're working toward this, not on this with Olga, but the Ara and also Soul with evenings.fm, the like live streaming audio thing. There's also this YouTube feature that we've got linked in the description. You've got a YouTube channel, and everyone can go find all the cool different stuff you've been doing on LinkedIn. Good problems. So much stuff. You're a fascinating
So
human
much
being. Thank you
things.
so much for joining us.
Oh,
Thank you everyone who thank you everyone for joining me in the comments. Uh More stuff I didn't even get to like highlight on the screen here. Talking about the sounds that machines make. I loved this one. Dot matrix printers. Okay. Anyway, thank you everyone who joined. Thank you again, Cyril. This has been such a pleasure.
it's been so nice, Alex. Thank you for your time. I love talking to you about all this. I could again talk to you about it for hours on end.
Brain exploding time. It's like pop rocks up in here. Next time we'll record it and then we won't have to worry about Wi-Fi issues and it'll be awesome. Thanks again. Have an awesome rest of your day. Cheers everybody, hack on.